maybe you can just tell me a little bit about kind of like how you got into weightlifting or CrossFit, like how long you've
Yeah,
been doing it. Just give me a little bit of background just so I can, yeah, just kind of know where you're coming from.
yeah, for sure. So I'm 46 now. When I was 38, about 8 years ago, I really hadn't done any significant weightlifting or uh, any serious fitness stuff. And I did start at Tangletown CrossFit.
Okay.
And so I started CrossFit about 8 years ago. About and I've been a complete junkie to that ever since. And then about 6 years ago, I started coaching CrossFit, and so I coach regularly at Tangletown. And then I also coach a strength program that's mostly barbell lifting and some medium to light Olympic lifting at a functional fitness gym called Paddle Sculpt, which is over by Lake Nokomis.
Oh, okay.
So I've been doing the coaching thing for about 6 years, and then also training quite a bit.
Okay.
And through CrossFit, I have really enjoyed the Olympic weightlifting, and then I've gotten even more and more into that. So that's really something that I absolutely love. And at Tangletown, we've had for a long time an Olympic lifting class
Hmm.
that's run by a gal named Jessica, who is great Olympic lifter, great coach. She recently moved to Stillwater, and so she stopped coaching with us. So I took over the barbell weightlift, the Oli Club, made it kind of, and then I'm putting a little bit more rigor around it to make it Tangletown Barbell Club.
Yeah,
We're
nice.
getting some, I'm doing USA level one this coming weekend actually. So
Okay.
I'm hoping to make it where we can actually do some events and just have, get as many people involved as possible in lifting. So that's kind of my, you know, where it's coming from. And I currently, CrossFit is kind of my base fitness.
Hmm.
And then I do as much kind of Olympic lifting stuff on my own. So right now it's kind of, 3 to 5 CrossFit workouts a week, and then 2 to 3 focus just Olympic lifting
Yep.
type sessions. And it's usually now, since I do the program for the Barbell Club, it's usually doing kind of the stuff that we do, which is kind of 3 days a week of programming there. So
Nice.
yeah, so just absolutely love it, and I try to have big energy and just get as many people doing it and doing it well as possible.
Yeah,
So
that's awesome. When when do you think you started getting like that Olympic weightlifting bug?
the it's a since I was been doing CrossFit, and again, like, I'm 6'6", and as of this morning weigh about 173 pounds. So
Uh-huh.
like, you've probably never coached anyone with my physique in the
I don't think so.
yeah, and so it brings some unique stuff. So there's nothing, I'm not built for any of this, as I always joke, but probably, maybe I would say 5 years ago. So once a few
Okay.
years into CrossFit, once I, say, hey, I can do quality overhead squats, I can approach a CrossFit workout and focus on my, hitting my movement positions, not
Hmm.
doing the CrossFit version of a workout, like just,
Yeah,
rounded back, pick up that bar off the ground,
right.
as fast as you can. So once I started doing that and saying, hey, if I really focus on that, that's fun, then, I started doing, our Tangletown Olympic lifting class as often as I could. And I found that just doing a 1 hour class where I didn't have to worry about a high intensity workout, and you could just focus 100% on the strength aspects and the technique aspects. And I
Hmm.
really enjoyed that. So probably the last 3 or 4 years, I've really enjoyed it. And it's been just kind of a slow build. And then, I did, I tried to get a bunch of people to sign up for the Solcana meet,
Hmm.
saying like, hey, this is going to be great. And so we did a mock meet. I had the Oli class do a mock meet where we were judged. And like, again, if you've never been judged by Olympic standards, a lot of
Yeah.
reds on press outs
Uh-huh.
and like a lot of just little things. And so, we did the mock meet, and our coach, who's, knows Oli stuff very well, I thought I went in thinking I would easily get some lifts, and there was just little things I wasn't paying attention to, like little rebends on a jerk and like little stuff like that. For years, I assumed, oh, I'm hitting all those things. And then she's like, nope, that absolutely wouldn't count. And so I was much better prepared for that meet. But, just knowing those things, I really enjoyed focusing on that stuff more so than, can I do, grace in under 4 minutes, with sloppy form. I'd much rather absolutely just, lock out that PR one time kind of thing.
Sure.
So, so those things, it's just been a continuous evolution. And now that, just having to coach and bring energy and, people get involved with the barbell club has been super fun. So it's like when I started coaching CrossFit, because I figured, hey, I'm a coach, I better be doing this stuff right. I was much more motivated to execute CrossFit movements, to absolute, pushing towards perfection. And now leading an Oli thing, I'm not just like, well, I'll just kind of go out there and, round my back this one time and that's fine. It's like,
you got people watching you now.
Yeah, I assume everybody's watching me. And if they say, hey, he stayed light and focused on technique, then it's not just lip service. So
lead by example, right?
Yeah, it's kind of that just, I don't know your complete evolution of it, but it's just kind of that continuing arc of constantly improving.
That's awesome.
And different motivation sources. So yeah, it's been super fun, and I love everything about fitness and definitely Olympic weightlifting.
Nice. How long has the Barbell Club been? Well, yeah. When did you start it? How is it growing? How are people liking it at the gym?
Yeah. So, there's been 2 or 3 times a week Olympic weightlifting class at Tangletown for at least 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
And so a few people went to it, myself included. And so our coach just, I was the regular sub to coach. So I had been coaching at it with someone else's programming for, probably the last year, subbing pretty regularly.
Okay.
And then so when our coach left, and it was just the beginning of October, so I've only been a month in on it. So we have 12 spots, and we have a pretty consistent 8 to 10 people that come. It's like I said, when the people that come there, they all know the standards you have to meet and how different those are when we're working out in a regular CrossFit class.
That's good.
So yeah, the people that have been regulars have very much enjoyed it. And like I said, we're doing kind of quarterly, which we have coming up beginning of December, internal meets, where it's just people that come to the Oli class, and we basically go around just on a time cycle. You have to declare your weights. You have to 3 attempts and do kind of a mock Oli meet.
That's cool.
So we did that once, and like people that hadn't done it absolutely loved it because as you know, it's not just like, well, I missed that one lift. Let me just regroup a little bit and I'll try it again in a couple minutes. It's like you get 3 attempts
and that's
done. All you got. So and then of course the big thing is we turn off all the music and it's silent and so the people, they like it, and I like to think and again, I'm not saying anything negative about our previous coach, but it was a little more, the programming was just a little more, hey, do snatch and clean and jerk and then back squat. And then next week do snatch, clean and jerk, a little higher weight and whatever. So I've basically taken, programming and just had 1 day snatch only, 1 day clean and jerk only, and had a much more technique progression things.
Yeah, it's more focused, right?
Yeah. Because trying to do both, there will be times when we do both for a particular reason, but and I've only done, of course, had the first month programmed out, but this week and last week we did it for snatch, but we did the goal was pulling under the bar. So we started off with a set of tall cleans where you just start from a dead stop,
Yep.
lightweight, and just pull yourself under the bar. And then we moved to cleans from the high hang, so just a small dip, and pulling yourself under the bar and working up to that heavy weight. So like,
Mhm.
Progression in those things, and then we did some jerk work. So, much more focused on progressions of techniques for some of those key components. So not just saying, hey, go
Just go lift, right?
go clean and jerk and go snatch, and I'll watch you and correct any of your forms. So just really getting people more into those, pieces, which is, comes with some from my experience, but also a ton from like reading books from you and like following folks like Catalyst and, Chad Vaughn and those people. They come up with those things. I try them out and then, build them into kind of programming there.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I think the response has been good so far because people like the more focused stuff and they like kind of the technique progressions rather than just go out and do the 2 lifts and, work hard at it.
Right. Because anyone can do that.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So it's been very fun, and I'm hoping to get even more people involved. And like I said, one day maybe host an event or have some things going. So
yeah, that'd be awesome.
Just trying to get, that's the goal, as many people involved and enjoying it like I do.
Cool. I think we definitely need more coaches like you, just being open and always wanting to learn, right? There's no there's no right or wrong. It's just what works, right? For you or for your lifters or your club. So yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So, and that's it. Like, and at both the gyms I've coached at for 6 years, I've coached people who are walking this gym 50 plus years old who've never done an athletic thing in their life. And by the end of class, I'll have them doing at least a high hang power snatch.
Yeah.
Like, hold the bar here, jump and bring this overhead. And like, so you can go, lots of people I've taken. I'm definitely not putting anyone on, the American Open platform or anything like that. But like, I've taken countless people proudly and got them going from 0 to, someone that knows what they're doing when they get out there. They're not setting records, but that's kind of the, from my CrossFit background of just trying to get people doing the movement, doing it well, and they get all the challenge, the enjoyment, the feeling stronger,
I'm with you.
Athletic.
I think it's more impressive if I could teach someone who's never weightlifted before and teach them how to do it well versus taking people to the American Open. I mean, taking people to the American Open is awesome and it's fun, but it's more satisfying when you can teach just a average Joe, how to snatch.
Because the 2 gyms I coach at, I've had tons of opportunity. I had a guy today who's 64 years old. He's done very lightweight training, and I had him doing good front squats, good push press, just to get things started. And the other half of the room was doing clean and jerks. And I'm like, okay, we'll start here. And he's like, oh yeah, I want to start doing that where they land like that. And like, we'll get there one day. For now, we're starting we're starting good. So yeah, it's super fun to see people do it for the first time. Because like I said, I did it for the first time and have been kind of addicted ever since. So
yeah. So all right, nice. Well, let's do this. Let's get into the videos you sent me on Instagram.
Oh yeah.
And we'll just watch that quickly, and then we'll get into questions, and we'll just chat, just hang out.
For sure.
All right. So looks like this is from the Socana meet, right?
Yep. All
right. How did I assume you knew it was going to be in kilos, right?
Oh yeah.
How has that transition been for you? I know, because when I get a lot of CrossFit people who come over to weightlifting, they have no idea what's on the bar, and like they have to go on their phone and type into the calculator.
Yeah, totally. And the it's no problem. I just have to write everything down before, because if we're doing weights, I know exactly in my head, okay, I could add 5 pounds, I could add 4 pounds, or I could add this or whatever. But yeah, kilos, I just had to say, okay, I basically write down a little transition board to say, okay, I know I can do, I think I opened at and I'll talk pounds because I don't have my
No
handy
worries.
board, but I think my first lift was 105 pounds. And
Okay.
so I said, okay, what's that in kilos? I'll declare that as, if that's 44 or 46 or whatever that is. So yeah, I just had to do a little, I think through in my head the weight, and then I just crunched the number to put it out there.
Okay.
So
Nice.
yeah.
All right.
The most unnerving thing, weird as it was, so I was all prepared for the, the no music, being stared at by 3 grizzled old dudes that like don't look like they are excited to be there at all.
Yeah.
They're just staring you down. But like when I can't remember who it was, came back and told us like, okay, hey, you can't have a dirty clean. We'll be looking for press outs. We'll be looking for this. And she threw in the last thing. She said, also, there's a brand new rule, or relatively new rule.
Oh, yeah.
You can't touch the bar with your foot.
Yep.
And so, like, of course, that's just for whatever reason. They don't want someone rolling it around with their foot or, moving the bar, like, for whatever reason.
Yeah.
For some reason, because that was unexpected, that, like, stuck in my head. And so when I walked out there, I'm like, okay. Don't touch the bar with your foot, whatever you do. And like, even while I was getting set up, I'm like, okay, it's not going to touch my foot, is it? So like, that literally that threw me off a little bit, and that was stuck in my head. So, but yeah.
That's hilarious. Do you typically do that?
I mean, like, I probably don't, but like, if I'm doing multiple reps, when I put that bar back down, if I take a little break, just lazily to move the bar back to where I want it to be to start.
Yeah.
I might just roll it back with my foot.
It's a very common thing in CrossFit to see that. I don't know why, but like, and honestly, I don't know the reason why the IWF decided to add that rule. Honestly, I think it was more of a, like, if you're like an original gangster, like way from a weightlifter, there's a lot of respect, right, to the sport and the barbell itself. So I think what they decided on, the reason why they made that decision was because by placing your foot on the barbell, that was like disrespecting the barbell or whatever. I get it. But I think that was the biggest reason why.
I thought that was kind of weird because it's not like any competitive advantage. So it's probably
right, exactly.
Just to like, like you said, a respect or, so they don't have people out there just like goofing and,
I guess,
weird.
When you think about it, say you take it to like a ball sport, like, you want to grab the basketball or the football and just like throw it on the ground. I don't know.
No, I agree.
It's
for some reason that completely stuck in my head because I had gone through everything else in my head and I was like, okay, when you walk out there, don't touch it, whatever you do. And like, even though I absolutely wouldn't have just before a lift, I might do it when the bar's bouncing a little bit, like let it, drop a little bit or something. But yeah, that stuck in my head. So
that's so funny.
But all good on kilos. Just requires crunching the numbers a little bit.
Okay. All right. We'll get into it. Okay. And that was 48.
Yep.
Okay. Clean and jerk. All right.
Oh yeah, and then there's just me. I locked my 2 minutes before my first lift. If you've been to Sulcana, they have bathrooms that are in like kind of a shared space out back.
Yeah.
And I went out to the bathroom and I locked myself out the back of the building. So I had to leave the building and run around the front like a minute before my lift. That was just me running back into the building.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
How'd you get that on video?
Things are not going well if I lock myself out of the building like a minute before my first lift. But
how'd you get that on video?
So this is they did a live Facebook feed.
Okay, yeah, they did.
So it was just me running across the screen right before I started.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
I'm like, don't worry about me. I'm just coming back in the front door.
How did you feel about these lifts on that day?
Uh, Not great. The My snatch, it just like I said, if I try for a 1 rep max snatch or a heavy single,
Mm-hmm.
I've got all the time in the world. I think about stuff. I do 1 rep. I think about a little more. I correct something. So I'm usually thinking about one thing I want to correct.
Yep.
And like, because of just the don't touch the bar with your foot, everything's silent, place you've never lifted before.
Yeah.
Like I, I wasn't, I wasn't focused at all like I want to be. I was like, basically, don't fall over and
Yeah.
like, tumble off the platform or something. Like, so I wasn't crazy at all about these lifts. But like I said, the next time I do it, I can ignore a lot of
Yeah. You know
the
what to.
noise and the
Yep.
thinking, and just know I can focus on the lifts of it. So yeah,
Yeah.
definitely not crazy about them.
There's definitely
I've
a lot
done,
of different factors being thrown at you, right?
yeah, and
And
I
then
could, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
you go ahead.
Yeah, I said I probably, if I dug on my phone a little bit, I probably could have had, produced better lifts,
Mm.
in practice sessions. But of course, this is the one that matters,
Yeah.
the competitive one. But yeah, so I survived. All I want to do is get a total and survive, and I did those things. So
Sweet. I think that's always a good goal for your first meet. Just total.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
And have fun.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, meets, you can't really prepare for it, right? Because anything can happen. Especially too, like like, because you're not in control of it. It's not like training, right? You can monitor your rest time. You can drink
yeah,
some water. Um, you just have time. You can make adjustments. But yeah, here it's like, let's say, I don't know if you ran into this during the competition, but let's say there's two people ahead of you and they miss their weight at the same weight you're attempting. That means you have to wait even longer, right? That might be up to 3-5 minutes. Whereas I'm like me,
yeah,
I like to rest maybe 90 seconds to 120 seconds and I'm ready to go again. So then like, okay, if I get to rest, if I'm resting 5 minutes, that I'm getting cold, right? That definitely throws me
yeah.
off. I'm thinking in my head, like, what's going on out there? Oh crap. But with practice, usually, you kind of figure those things out. But did you run into anything like that?
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. Because yeah, in my session, which was the middle session,
Uh-huh.
again, this meet was postponed like 6 months from,
Right. Yep.
it's supposed to be in March, but it ended up just being me and another guy, Justin, who is from Milwaukee.
Uh-huh.
And Justin, I think he was 67 kilograms, and he's a very good lifter.
Okay.
I think his total was, I think it was 200, or he got it right about there or something. But
Oh wow.
yeah, he really good lifter, and he, as soon as he was warming up, and as soon as I walked in, he asked me, or he asked Hannah or whoever
Mm-hmm.
was taking stuff. He said, "Oh, what lift is, what weight is he starting at?" He gave him my totals, and of course, way lower than him. And of course, he was asking that because he was wanting to know, since I was the only other lifter, if he
Uh-huh.
was going to have anyone lifting,
Yeah.
during the same time.
Yep.
Which of course was said, and I asked him about it. He's like, "Yeah, it's a disadvantage because he'll have to do 3 lifts
Yeah. Yeah. For
essentially in a
sure.
row when he does it." So I did. It didn't really bother me because I knew, I wasn't going to go super heavy, and I'm out there. I'll knock this out, get it over with. But
Mm-hmm.
when I did when I was getting ready to do my last clean and jerk,
Mm-hmm.
so Justin was still warming up, and I knew I could hit this weight. My weight, I was ready to go, and you get like 2 minutes from whenever
Yep.
they finish setting up the bar.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was all ready to go, get my last lift in there, knock it out. I'd already got my total, so I was just going to try to get, 5 kilos higher or something. And I asked Justin, because he was still warming up. I'm like, "Hey, do you want me to just hang out back here for another couple minutes so you have more time to warm up for your lift? He's like, oh, that is super nice of you. You don't need to do that, but I appreciate that. So
Yeah.
like, I understand like that, you know. And then the other cool thing was the session number 3, which basically the University of Northern Iowa weightlifting team showed up on a bus, and that's who the third session at Solcana was. So
Oh, wow.
definitely not beginning lifters, just a bunch of young, super strong guys. And it
Yeah.
was I volunteered to do the bar,
The loading.
change plates.
Yep.
Yeah, loading, and that was super fun to watch. But like they were doing, when it got to the heavy lifts, they were doing all kinds of stuff. Like there was one guy left to lift, and he came out and he said, I forget what it was. It was like in pounds, it was like 330 or 340 or something on clean and jerk.
Wow.
And so he came out, said that, we set the weight, we go back, and then like almost 2 minutes passes by. He comes out and he says to add 5 more, and then comes out like a little bit later and says to add more.
Yeah.
And so like, I know that he was doing that just to like get more rest time in between his lift or whatever. So, and I was moderately annoyed because I'm like, dude, I just changed these plates. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Like,
it's definitely a game, right? There's like tips and tricks to where you can buy more time for yourself.
Yeah, and I could see
and mess with like if you're competing against someone, you can mess around with someone, right?
Yeah. I could see like if you're at a higher level where the coach is doing that, and of course experienced coaches, I could see all kinds of back and forth on declaring weights and taking a break, and then declaring a weight based on what your competitor did. So that stuff is super cool and adds a whole new element of strategy
for sure.
and so forth.
Something most of us won't like get into, right?
right. If I'm ever at that point where like I have a coach and they're strategically manipulating the weight changes in order to do time, I'll be thankful and very excited.
Yeah. All right. I mean, you said you're 6'6", right?
Yep.
Yeah. It's actually very impressive, Brian, that you have made it work for your body type. So like good stuff. Just watching this, the only thing I would say is, that's kind of catching my eye is mobility, right? I think, and I'm sure right? There looks like the shoulders could, the mobility in the shoulders and maybe the spine is kind of what's limiting whether you can do more weight or technical fixes. But if we can slowly like improve on that, I think things are only going to get better. But let's just have you tell me a little bit about what some things you notice with your own lifting, like what have you been working on, and maybe I can just kind of help you out that way.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so the mobility, absolutely 100% agree. So like among the pain points of being 6'6" is and not starting anything fitness wise till you're 38, because you've got 4 decades of slightly hunching over.
Yeah.
Right. So like my shoulders being forward, somewhat minorly poor posture. Basically, the last 8 years have been a battle to get into more upright positions. So like absolutely hit the nail on the head. That's something I have a number of mobility things and other things that I work on to get there. So this is like as good as it's been compared to how it's been. So that's a great point. And I'll continue to work on that, the overhead mobility. But that is been a constant work in progress for that.
Okay.
As far as like just like lifting questions, just a few. I did have a little list of questions here. So, and if it's tough to see on the clean and jerk I did, but when I press the barbell or do anything where I'm just dip and drive or squat, any of my squats, I do a good job, and it's not reflected in the snatch video, but anytime I'm doing squats or dip and drive, I can keep my knees out, my knees, in a strong position, and
Mm-hmm.
my legs in the position they can. When I jerk though, when I split jerk,
Okay.
when I dip and drive, so I've been trying to stay vertical, certainly a little bit, that's the goal. But when
Mm-hmm.
I dip and drive and then jerk, I dip and drive, I drive those knees out, but then when I drive up, those
It,
knees swirl in and
mm,
come in like that. So
and
like I know that happens, and it's not a great angle to see it here, but if you watch on the jerk, I dip and drive the knees out, and then they come back together when I come under that bar, like a little swoop.
mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah, it's kind of tough
I've
to see
def
there, but like
I've
if
definitely
it
seen
was
that
a front
before.
view, you would see it for sure.
Um, what have you done to slowly work on that?
So like taking band above the knees,
Mm-hmm.
lateral steps, and all those things as just an accessory before and after
Okay,
is
nice.
something I'm doing to try to strengthen and work on that.
Yeah,
So
the
basically
glutes.
banded stuff driving out.
Yeah, the glutes. Working on the glutes slowly over time definitely will help. It could also just. I mean, I think that's the main issue, right? Is getting those glutes a little more stronger. So I would say out, other than outside of doing the banded warm ups or cool downs, I would really recommend doing some like glute specific exercises as well, like like stiff like deadlifts.
Okay.
Can attack the glutes. It's also a great lower back exercise, but just it'll help. It's definitely working the glutes and the hamstrings. Hip thrusts. I don't know if you've done hip thrusts before or do them
Yep.
often. Hip thrusts are great for glute activation, and just glute strength in general.
Okay.
Um, and then if there's a way you can um, do like a progression, find a progression in doing your glute exercises. For example, let's say we pick one glute exercise that you're gonna do. We'll just say like a standing banded leg raise. Let me stop sharing my screen. So let's say you're standing and you're just raising the leg out to the side like that.
Okay.
We'll just use that exercise as an example. Let's say you start this week. It's your first week. You start with 3 sets of um, 15 each side with the band, right?
Okay.
Next week, you go 3 sets of 20. The following week, you go 3 sets of 25. So there's a progression in there, so that
Yeah.
you're providing a stimulus or an overload to your muscles
Okay.
each week. That's one thing I learned from a fellow coach that I coached with at Kingfield. Um, just finding ways to progress certain exercises can help, get certain body parts stronger. And then let's say, the fourth week you take a break. Maybe you go just 2 sets of 15. Okay, the next month, next cycle, you go, maybe you had a green band, but then now you grab a blue band that has a little more tension. And
Yeah.
then you do the same thing over again until you feel, until you notice a difference, right? And you may notice something, you may not, right? Maybe the exercise wasn't the right exercise for you.
Yeah.
You gotta try a different one. So a lot of like trial and error, right? I'm sure you've dealt with, the
Yeah. For
past
sure.
8 years.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So yeah, doing things like that, and then adding hip thrusts and stiff leg deadlifts to the program, that's gonna help a lot. And then finding ways to progress that as well, and play around with 10 to 12 reps. See how my body responds to that. Okay, let's play around with 5 to 8 reps.
Yeah.
See how my body responds to that. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, that's great. And
So
like glute strength is like a deficit. And aside from being just thin in general, like I think because of my height and super long quads, like
yeah.
and hunched forward, like any strength I have has been built in my quads. So my actual handle ham spatula does denote my my flat
Oh yeah,
backside is
that's hilarious.
what that is. So yeah, but glute strength is always going to be a battle, but that's good to have that reinforced that strength is going to help
Yeah,
with knees coming in like that.
and then also too, because your body's has gotten used to this habit, right, of the knees going in and out during the drive. It's just your body just that's just all your body knows, right?
Yeah.
So we have to reprogram those patterns, right? So two things, right? When I see a lifter not doing something that's desired, you look at the strength, right? Where's the true issue coming from, right? Typically it's muscular. And the second thing is patterns, right? Rewiring your programming. So, something that could be super beneficial for you is lightweight jerk dip plus jerk, right? So let's just say you have a barbell. I'm gonna do a dip, and I'm gonna move nice and slow, right? And I'm gonna really pay attention to my knees, make sure they're tracking over my toes on the way down and on the way up, and then let's just do a regular jerk, right? You can video yourself, or you could just be, if I think you might know when you'll feel it when it goes in, right?
Yeah.
So just practice lightweight, like, okay, is it going in? Okay, if it's not going in, maybe put on 10-pound plates, 15-pound plates, and work up to a weight where you start to notice the knees going in, but then you can also correct it at the same time. Does that make sense? Like, let's say, let's say like 75%, that's when I start to notice my bad habits start to come up. Okay, let's stick around 70 to 75% and let's get really good there technically before we increase weight, or, so like when I write programming for my lifters, a lot of times I'll just write, let's say we're doing snatch. Okay, we'll go 5x2 at moderate weight. And I explain to my lifters, moderate means like what I just explained to you. Find a weight where it's heavy enough to where you see some mistakes or something, but then you're still able to correct them, right?
Yeah.
Let's say if I go 85% and I can't correct it, okay, you've gone too heavy. And then some days it's different, right? Some days I'm feeling really good and my moderate weight is 85%, right? And I can stick there, but some days it's not. So I stick at 70. So that's something you can.
Yeah, in my head, snatch, for example, I always think, again, thinking in pounds, like the 85, 90 pounds is that weight that I know I'm going to hit the lift. And like you said, if I'm doing something wrong, I can try to make adjustments there. And then once I start going on beyond that, then it's tougher to make that. So I think I have in my head an idea of where kind of those weights can be.
Nice.
In that moderate piece. So that's good to know.
That's good. Going back to the jerk, the knees going in. Something else that you can do too is a pause jerk, right? You pause in the dip, and then right out of the drive, right? You just pay attention to the knees moving straight. So that's something you can add into your program or your warm-ups.
Yeah.
I don't know how you program or what you've experienced with, but let's say if I have a lifter is struggling with something, right? Take for example you, right? Let's say you're lifting for me and we're working on your jerk. Let's say Tuesday is your jerk day, right? We typically will start with like a primer exercise. Okay, so we know your knees are going in during the drive up. We might start the session off with pause jerks with emphasis on those knees, right? And we might go 4 sets of 3 at just a lightweight, maybe, I don't know, maybe 40 to 50%, or maybe a little bit heavier, if whatever, right? Whatever feels good. Yeah. Okay, we do 4 sets of 3 of that. Okay, now we move into your regular jerk work. Maybe that day we're doing 5 sets of 2 at 75%. And then, we hope that the primer work, right, transfers over to the main work. Yeah. Some days it does, some days it doesn't. The thing is, we're working, right?
I like that, and that's my thinking around some of the progressions when I program
awesome.
it. It's like, we do the tall clean to pull under, and then we just stick in the high hang clean, getting the heavy and
Yeah.
just re-emphasizing that pull under. So I do like to see progressing like
Yeah.
that technique to heavier and applying that in the same session. So
Awesome.
that's, no,
Awesome.
that's very good. Okay.
Brian,
And then,
any other
like,
questions? Yeah.
yeah, I do have a few more. And like, let me know if you need to go or anything.
Nope.
Totally cool. So something I've been taught by reputed coaches, on any pulls, snatch or clean, keeping those knuckles driven towards the ground as a way to engage lats. So like, not a passive hold on the bar, but crank those knuckles towards the ground. You can feel those lats engage, and then when I pull, I feel like I'm pulling with my whole upper body, not just necessarily hanging with my arms. And I know in your book, your posts, you talk about having relaxed arms. So I'm just curious.
Yeah.
What do you think about the knuckles down? Can they peacefully coexist, or is it better to be, arms or straps, to use the legs as the priority?
That's a really good question. Oh, geez. They're doing some stuff outside. Can you hear that?
I just hear it a little bit in the background. But I can hear
cool.
you fine.
Cool. I've had this discussion with a few other coaches too. So I'm for a more relaxed. And the reason why I don't like the knuckles under is because the forearm muscles get tired easily, right? When I do this, that's a lot of work for my forearms. And when the forearms go, the body naturally will then start to find other ways to compensate, right? Let's say in CrossFit, you see a lot of bendy elbows. Especially in a workout where you got like cleans and pull-ups, your grip is gone. So naturally, the body will do this, right? To keep the bar closer to your center of mass, because the forearms and the hands are so toast. So there's that. And then also if I say, we'll just use the clean for example. So if I'm setting up and my knuckles are curled in, let's say I keep that as I come up, I extend. Now because my knuckles are turned in, there's more space for the bar to come around.
Yeah. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. No.
It's like just this much space, or more distance for the bars to travel, and with that distance, it's gonna create a little more crashing of the bar on the shoulders. So that's the way I look at it. Like, but if I keep my knuckles just regular, right? And it is when I'm setting up, my knuckles are technically facing down. I'm just not really curling them.
Yeah.
But I think a little bit of curl might help if you notice a difference. But too much like a maximal curl, I don't think would be beneficial. And then with the lats, this doesn't sound as profound, but just engage your lats, So I said, and then to engage your lats, depending on the person, it might cue, okay, just kind of do that, right? Kind of like almost kind of puff out the chest, pull back a little bit. Or you can think about pulling. I love the cue, pull the shoulder blades down. Naturally, that gets my lats engaged as well.
Yeah.
Good question.
I think it was. I know you in 100 Days you talked about shoulders down, so that is something I've had people focus on, and I think it's Chad Vaughn or someone maybe said, put the shoulder blades in your back pockets. Like
nice.
That's what you want to think of. So,
yeah, good cue.
Yeah, no, that has been a helpful cue. Okay. No, that's good. That's good to know on the forearms. Thank you. And then like any, and if you know the CrossFit world, any movements or CrossFit or non-CrossFits that you think are counterproductive to Olympic weightlifting? Not necessarily like bad habits of, going too heavy with bad form, but like, bench press or, anything you think in the CrossFit space that, it's not necessarily a deal breaker, but if you were going to, put someone to their absolute only best, you'd say, hey, maybe take a pause on those type of movements.
Yeah, I think it comes down to it's more like it's an individual thing, right?
Okay.
Everyone has their own movements where they probably shouldn't do, or they shouldn't do as much of. Like for me, if I do too much bench press, I know my shoulders don't feel good, and my chest gets tight. It makes my overhead not as I don't feel as strong, right? Because my pecs are so tight. But then there are people who can bench twice a week and it's okay, right?
Okay.
And then also, like, it depends on like what's your goal, right? What's your focus? If you are a CrossFitter and you want to, and you need to improve your Olympic lifts, okay, maybe you should do only 3 to 4 times a week and just do CrossFit 2 times, 3 times max a week. And just got to be okay with that, right? We've had people, and ourselves included, we want to do all of it, right? I want to live 5 days a week, and I want to do 6 Metcons a week.
And I wanted to get like 10 unbroken muscle ups.
Right? Like, that's not going to happen unless you're Matt Frazier. So I think, as a coach, you gotta be like upfront and realistic with your lifters, right?
Yeah.
Or like one thing I don't like seeing too much with lifters is, and only because I've seen a lot of issues with this, is kipping pull-ups.
Yeah.
Most of us have very tight shoulders, and we have a desk job, right? So this position here does not like that kipping, and depending on what your body can handle, it's not a good recipe for strong shoulders. So I guess kipping pull-ups would be one if I had to give you an answer.
Yeah. Okay. No, it's good to know. But
I think the biggest.
I like the thought, of course, that it depends on the individual.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's. I know we had an athlete who whole life benched a ton and was benching 300 at CrossFit, and then severely struggled with overhead. And, had an Oli coach tell him, like, hey, just stop benching for a little while so we get this overhead going. So that kind of stuck with me. I'm like, are there some things that, but yeah, I think depending on the individual, of course, it's good thoughts.
And then typically, especially if you're working with CrossFitters, I do not program traditional deadlifts a whole lot, if ever.
Okay.
And the reason for that.
When you say traditional, do you mean just traditional grip or sumo grip versus like a clean deadlift, snatch deadlift?
I mean, like a, let's say, I don't know, like a CrossFit deadlift, it doesn't matter if you're doing, it doesn't matter if you're doing mixed or not, like just the move, the hinging movement.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like if you're doing the CrossFit total, that type of deadlift.
Yeah. But do you program like snatch?
Oh yes. Snatch deadlifts, clean deadlifts and pulls.
Yeah. Yes. Just not a traditional mixed grip or sumo grip,
Sumo I would program more of, but the traditional deadlift I don't program. That is for a lot of CrossFitters, especially, is because I don't want them to bring that movement pattern into a snatch or clean, right? In the deadlift, you're hinging. That you're supposed to hinge. Your chest is essentially facing the floor. You're using the glutes and the hamstrings to lift the bar up. You don't want that in the snatch or clean, right? You want that chest to be more upright. Your hips are a little bit lower if your body allows it, right? In a perfect world, you want the hips down and chest up. But I don't want people to get that mixed up. And I would only program it if the lifter is aware enough and are able to differentiate the two movement patterns.
Yeah.
Most CrossFitters won't be able to tell the difference, right? So
Right.
I try to take that out, or I really try to teach them, hey, there's hinge patterns and there's squat patterns. Snatch and clean and jerk fall into squat patterns, and just helping them understand that. Also, if you have people who are kind of going back and forth from the CrossFit and the lifting, let's say in CrossFit, it's inevitable that you're going to do like touch and go snatches, right? That's just
Yeah.
CrossFit, and there's nothing wrong with it. That's just the way it is. And if I do 10 snatches in a Metcon, I'm gonna do touch and go, and I'm gonna hinge down, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna bend over like this and come back up. If I want to move fast, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So if you got people doing that, you have to explain like, hey, you don't always have to be like super like a stickler about, okay, in my Metcon, I gotta keep my form tight. No, that's gonna slow you down a lot, right? But you just have to be able to tell the difference. And even if you're hinging in a Metcon, through your 10 power snatches or whatever, still apply the same principles. Like, okay, keep the bar close. Use those legs to drive it up. Don't swing my hips. Does that make sense?
That's super helpful. Since I move back and forth between it, I think about that a lot. Like, we'll have a CrossFit workout where it's power cleans at like 95 pounds, and we have to do like 20 in a round or something. Something that you're touch and go and it's light enough. And like, I do notice, in my head I say, okay, I'm going to CrossFit. So when I pick that bar up, I'm going to be in a deadlift position, so I'm not moving the knees out of the way and perfectly executing that.
Mm-hmm.
And like, obviously, I don't do anything that puts myself in like a poor position or dangerous position, but I'm going to go for, the cardiovascular work and the touch and go. So yeah, saying like, this is a CrossFit movement, this is Olympic weightlifting movement, and just knowing that an athlete, in order to optimize both, has to be able to tell the difference between doing those two things. So that's super helpful in the CrossFit world. So neither one is doing it right or wrong. Mm-hmm. It's just that it's specific to what you're doing for that workout.
It just comes down to awareness, self-awareness.
Yeah, no, that's great to know. Thank you. And then when if you're training someone, obviously we've talked about the different technique movements, but mm-hmm. Do you use any particular, because in the strength programs I've programmed, I've been successful getting people stronger with the barbell lifts. I'm talking the core lifts like back squat, front squat, push press, by using both like a hatch squat program and then like a Wendler, doing kind of the 5-3-1 stuff. So like, if you're programming for an athlete or athletes, and not necessarily someone that has a meet coming up in 6 months, but someone that just wants to, for the next 5 years, get better Olympic lifting, do you put them on specific back squat, front squat progressions, or just okay, hey, today you're coming to the gym, you're just going to do front squats? Do you put them on specific strength progressions as part of in addition to the technique pieces?
So in the past, I've had people on, I guess, specific squat cycles, only because that's all I knew.
Okay.
As I was becoming a coach, right? But nowadays, I just think more about what the person needs, right? So I guess I'm speaking in the terms of if I'm working individually with people, not like a group setting. In a group setting, that's a bit different, right? But even then, you can still apply the same things. So let's just take you, for example, Brian, right? Super long. You could probably really benefit from getting your legs stronger, right? So with you, let's say if we were working together, I would start off with, you would definitely need to squat 3 days a week, right? Some people need to squat only 2, and that's plenty for them, right?
Yeah.
So I would, for you, I would follow this template where one day you have a volume day. I don't know, like 3 by 10, right? Another day a front squat day where you're doing, it's more of a strength focus. Maybe we do 5 by 4 or something like that. And then another day where it's a back squat strength day. Maybe we go 5 by 3 or something like that. And we're now, for you, we're attacking the 2 aspects of building muscle or strength, right? You need a little bit. You need a little bit of volume, and you need a little bit of strength work. So that's something I might have you on. Or sometimes you might go through, if we really need to develop some size and hypertrophy, then I might have you a month on, okay, we're just doing volume work. You're squatting 2 times a week. First day is 3 by 10 back squats. The second day will be front squats. We'll go 3 by 8. It's still volume like. And then the third day we might do, we're not doing actual squats, but we're doing like single leg work, like a Bulgarian split squat or some lunges, something like that. And we might do that for 1 or 2 months based on how your body's responding. And then we'll shift into a strength phase. And then we'll go into a more high intense phase. And strength phase would be more like maybe 4 to 6 reps. And then a higher intensity phase might be 1 to 3 reps.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you talk volume, strength, high intensity, those phases depending on what the athlete needs.
Yeah. And one thing too, I don't typically follow percentages. It's very, I guess it was very popular to follow percentages, or like when these coaches create these programs and sell it, or they put it out on the internet, they attach the percentage because they just want to give you a guideline, right?
Yeah.
But then us as human beings, we're like, oh, I'm going to fucking get 75% today, and I'm going to do 85%, and whatever's written, right? I'm going to want to do it because if I don't, it hurts my ego. So instead of using percentages, I don't remember the last time I used percentages in strength work. I use RPE. Have you heard of RPE?
I don't know RPE.
So RPE stands for rate of perceived exertion.
Okay.
You can Google it more after this. It's all over the internet, but it's essentially a way of, it just allows for more auto regulation and gives you a little more autonomy on your programming and your training. So let's say it's based off the RPE scale. It's just a fancy way of saying how hard I want you to work.
Yeah.
So it's based off of a 1 to 10 scale. So 10 being max, 1 being super easy, lightweight. So I say we're going to do 3 by 10, Brian, at RPE 7. So 7 minus 10 equals 3. So at whatever weight you do today, Brian, I want you to at least have 3 reps left in the tank.
Okay.
At the end of the set.
So meaning I could do 10, but I I could do 3 more if I needed.
Yes, if you needed.
Okay.
And some days it's different, right? Some days it might be closer to 75%. Some days it might be closer to 80% based on how I'm feeling. But then every week, let's say, so this week we're doing 3 by 10 at RPE 7. Next week we're doing 3 by 10 at RPE 7.5. So that just means, okay, goal is to add a little bit more weight to what we did last week, but it still allows you room to adjust based on how you're feeling. Maybe you slept like shit, so then you back off a little bit, or you do the same weight,
Yeah.
So that's what I've been doing, and it takes a while for people to kind of like feel. You got to know your body, right?
Yeah.
It takes a while for people to kind of like feel it out, but once you figure it out, I love that way of programming so much more because it's more flexible, it's adjustable, it doesn't fuck with my head. Because if I don't hit 80%, and it's rain, I'm gonna feel down, right?
Yeah.
About
Yeah.
myself. It's just it's a big mental thing with us. But yeah, that's something you can play around with.
Yeah, no, I'll check that out. That's good to know. And then kind of surprising too, because like, again, I've in some of the strength things I've programmed that I've been very successful seeing people add pounds to their one rep,
Mm-hmm.
as, the goal of, hey, if I can't front squat this weight, there's no way I'm going to clean it. So I got
Yeah.
to get that front squat up, which is how I approach stuff. But like those percentages are what motivates people, like, hey, I got to come in. I know it's 95% today. I got to do 2 reps or something. People,
Yeah.
that gets them fired up. But I can see on the other side, I know athletes now that I think in my head that don't hit that, and then they're like, "What have I done?
My day is ruined.
Obviously, a
Right?
failure. I might as well give up at this point."
Yeah,
So no,
right.
that's good. I'll check that out. That's good. Good to hear. And then, if again, training people, again, they don't necessarily have a targeted meet, want to just progress
Mm-hmm.
to improving their Olympic lifts. How often do you have them go for that 1 rep or go for that really heavy single? Is it like, how often are they tested? Like, suppose they're not doing meets, they just want to get better. Are you testing them, once a month, once a quarter, or does it depend on the athlete kind of thing? Because I've seen people that I know they should push harder and get out of their comfort zone. And I like when people push to failure, because then they know you can learn from that and so forth. But then, I don't, you don't want to be pushing people so feel like they're not progressing or they
Right.
fail every time. So I don't know if you have
Yeah.
thoughts on that.
Yeah. So depending on the coach and how they were brought up, right? So there are coaches who test every day, right? There's like back in the day, the Bulgarians would do that a lot, right? They would train they would find maxes essentially every day, and that's how they would build up the endurance or the intensity and the mental part, right, of lifting. But they were also on roids, so there are coaches who still follow that to this day, right?
Oh, wow.
I do not recommend that.
Yeah.
But for me, I test maybe 2 or 3 times a year.
Okay.
Because the body needs time, right? To take in the training and make these adjustments. And especially if you really need to fix your technique, you should not be testing, because your old habits are just going to come back, right?
Yeah.
Immediately. So if we have competitions coming up and the person is proficient enough with the technique, okay, we might test maybe 3 to 5 times a year, like so like maybe I might test after every 3 months, right, of a training cycle. So that works out to be about 4 times a year. But then also if someone's training is going well and we're going up to like 85% or 90% that day, and I'm like, oh man, you're looking good, Brian. Let's throw a little more weight on. It's not test, but we might go heavy,
Yeah.
kind of like on the fly, right? If things are looking really good. But in the program, I don't test a whole lot. I'm not a big fan of that. If anything, if the person's antsy, okay, we go up to 90, 95%. And okay, you got a little taste of it. Okay, let's get back to training,
Yeah.
Okay. But then also on the flip side, you might get a beginner who has no idea what their maxes are, right? And each week they're like, man, they're looking better and better. Okay, we might go a little bit heavier, but you got to keep an eye on that, because people might take advantage of it and, just use that as an excuse to like go heavy every time.
Right. Right.
So yeah.
Yeah. In the folks I coach, most of them, I would probably say 80 and 90% are on the hesitant fear side.
Oh, okay.
So it's much more me saying, you know what, if you bail out on this clean, or you press out this jerk and ditch the bar, that's fine. Like, don't be afraid. I think it's more cases of people that that seems too heavy. I can't attempt that. So it's
Well,
probably a little more on the
I'm
pushing
glad you brought
side.
that up because there's that too. People who don't
Yeah.
want to go heavy, right?
Right. Right.
And maybe you do need to encourage them to go heavier, just so they
Yeah.
know what they can actually do, or
Yeah.
know what it feels like, right? So there's definitely that too. So I think, yeah, it's very individual, and you just have to know your lifters and yourself, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. That's good. And then only other thing, I was just curious. So like, what are you doing now? Like, I think did I see that you left Kingfield, right? You're
Yes,
no longer coaching there.
no, not anymore.
And you said kind of like you'd have some stuff coming up, or just curious, what do you got going on in your weightlifting world?
Yeah, so I am just doing some side stuff, right, to bring in income, but I'm slowly growing like an online weightlifting um, a business, I guess you can call it.
Yeah.
So I have a few clients who like left Kingfield with me.
Okay.
So I do some one-on-ones. I also just started like a group programming where lifters where we all follow the same program, but each month there's like instructional videos on how to do the exercises, and then every week we have um, like a Zoom call where we go over each other's training and go over some feedback and questions, kind of pretty much what me and you did, but with
Okay.
slightly bigger group. Um,
So that's like a peer thing. You're not necessarily all people all coaching you, you coaching them,
correct,
more of
correct.
a peer group. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, just trying to create like a learning environment where people can come and learn and discuss things. Like it's not just me. Well, right now it's just me talking, but eventually I want it to be where like, okay, Brian, if you got something to say um, about Tom's lift, hey, say something, right? Like, hey,
Yeah.
Tom, I noticed this. You know, I don't want it to be a dictatorship.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
slowly working on that. And yeah, and then just working on now that I'm not coaching anymore, I have more time to train. So I've been training and looking to compete a couple times next year. So yeah, I'm just trying
Very
to have
cool.
some fun.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, and that's good that you mentioned when I my very first Oli class I took, the coach had us partner on everything we were doing, and
Mm-hmm.
specifically asked each athlete to watch the other athlete and comment on what they did well or could improve on, which seems unnerving when you have a bunch of beginner athletes, but
Yeah,
it's super valuable. And like I encourage that in my classes to watch other lifters,
yeah,
not like from the critical eye necessarily, but just say like, hey, this is what they did really well. Just because the more times you see people doing it,
yeah,
the more you can kind of pick those things out and improve your own thing. So yeah,
for
I like
sure.
the peer stuff, and the feedback from all angles is good.
Yeah, Christine Nolan,
Oh
Christine,
yeah, yeah.
she's
Tangletown
doing
gal.
she's she's part of the program.
Oh nice. Yeah,
Yeah,
very cool.
and then Lizzie, do you know Lizzie?
Yeah, Lizzie Eckberg.
Yep, we've
Yep.
done I think the past 3 years we've done some one-on-ones where she's came over to Kingfield and we did some one-on-ones.
Yeah,
So,
very
so
cool.
I know of some people at Tangletown. I
Yeah,
just
yeah,
never been there.
yeah. No, it's a good group, and we got a lot of cool stuff going on for sure.
One quick thing before I
Yeah,
let you go, Brian. I was just thinking think about this a couple of days ago. So I wanted to continue to kind of give back to the weightlifting community, and I thought I was wondering if you'd be interested in an idea I have. So I
sure.
want to go around the Twin Cities and just do like a weightlifting class on the go.
Yeah,
Would you be would that what do you think that's something Tangletown would be interested in, where I come in and let's say I don't know, we cap at 8 to 10 people, um, a class or whatever, and I'll just go over the snatch or the clean and jerk or maybe a little bit of both. maybe we do a couple hours, and maybe we can even do 2 classes where you get 8 different people, 16 different people, right? 8 in one class, eight different people in another class, and it'd be all free. What do you think
Oh,
about
okay.
that?
I mean, like, yeah, I mean, like that, even if it was something we paid for, like, that'd be great. If we had, and like, I'm specifically thinking of the Barbell Club or even the Barbell Club and more, and just, regular CrossFit folks to get into that. Because we did, if you know Zach from CrossFit
Critch.
Minneapolis.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Zach Critch. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. And so he and his wife came to Tangletown maybe 2 or 3 years ago and did something similar. So I had basically, and Teresa, who owns Tangletown, just did it for the coaches. So there was 8 or 10 of us, and we literally spent 90 minutes only doing snatch stuff.
Oh yeah.
And never doing anything more than just the empty barbell. I literally thought I was gonna die.
Yeah.
I'm like, how is just the empty barbell, whatever? But we would absolutely be into that.
Okay,
sure.
Cool, awesome. I would just curious to see how people feel about that, and also I want to keep it COVID safe and whatnot.
So. Oh yeah. And we have a good amount of space, and like everyone's used to the the standards and staying separated and stuff. But yeah, I'll for sure ping Teresa, and we could do it evening, weekend, or whatever whatever you would think. So I'll let you know, and we can figure out what we want to do, snatch, clean, and jerk, and who we want to be for. But that would be tremendous. So
yeah, I'll let you. I'll work out some more details, and I'll reach out to you when I'm ready.
Yeah, absolutely. We're here. We'll be lifting, so that'd be great.
Okay, awesome. Well, Brian, I'm so glad you took advantage of this. I'll be doing more of this, and if you want, every week, just because I'll be doing this every week. Every week, just send me a DM, and if you're lucky enough, you might get in it every week.
No, this is giving me so much info to run with.
Okay, good. I'm glad.
I'm good to go for a little while, but I'll definitely keep you posted, and I'll keep you posted certainly on some of the progression stuff.
And don't hesitate to send me any questions you have. If you have a lifter, or you're trying to fix something, or maybe your own lifting, like don't hesitate to send me questions or send me over videos. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I'll absolutely do that, and I appreciate it. Like, I love, everything you bring to the community, like just trying to build more good lifters, more good coaches, whatever. So yeah, so appreciate your time and look forward to many more discussions and lifting.
Awesome. All right. See you, Brian.
All right. See you, Chris.